Five Phenomenon Podcast. I am your host, Shane Hazen. Coming up on this episode, Laura Colwell and Stephen Salisbury from the Austin band Sun June. We're discussing late 60s Bay Area-based music documentaries, Monterey Pop and Gimme Shelter. Sun June's newest album, Somewhere, just came out this last Friday. But first, media consumption for the week. The coolest thing I've heard this week that I think everyone listening to this show, I know it's probably not smart to advertise a rival podcast because we're totally in the same league, but the coolest thing I heard this week was the Empire Magazine podcast with Edgar Wright and Quentin Tarantino, and I had a strong reaction to the first hour because the episode ends up being about British movies, and they, spoiler alert for the episode if you believe in spoiler alerts for podcast episodes, they get a list of great British movies from Martin Scorsese in. But the first hour is about the most memorable movie theater going experiences, which I still haven't been able to get a physical copy of the magazine, but I guess that's what the Edgar Wright edited issue is also about. And they tell these amazing stories, like Tarantino's story about going to see aliens on opening day alone will like make an anti-vaxxer start to believe in science. And it just, nothing has made me miss the theater going experience and the crowds and the way a crowd can make a movie better than that. And if I'm being honest, I haven't had a good experience going to a movie since I left Austin and since I stopped going to the Alamo Draft House. It's just Evansville crowds just aren't the same. And who knows when studios are going to start putting in their A-game movies in, and we're all going to get to go to it again. I know I say this every week, but the first hour just made me miss it so much. Also this week, Mark Harris's new book about Mike Nichols was just released, and if you haven't read anything of Mark Harris's, his two books, Pictures at a Revolution, about the 1967 Best Picture nominees, and Five Came Back, which was adapted to a Netflix documentary, which I think most people would be more familiar with. He's one of the best long-form movie writers right now, and his books are endlessly entertaining, so I highly recommend everyone get on that. Also, quick note of correction. At one point in the conversation, I'm describing Michelangelo Antonioni's movie Blow Up, and describing a scene in there where a band starts destroying its instruments, and this coming before its usage in Monterey Pop. I mistakenly say it's the Birds when I meant the Yardbirds. Just one little half part of a compound word off, but one of those has Jimmy Page in it, one does not. So anyway, so leading into the episode, sometimes on podcasts or interview shows, whenever bands are on, it seems like they always play excerpts, I guess for time's sake. But I'm not doing that. You're going to hear, this is the full song, Sun June, this is Bad Girl.
Goddamn, couldn't think of things to say.
So Laura, you're working right now?
I'm working right now for some reality television shows, baby.
Okay, I'm not gonna deny or not deny that we overlapped at that reality show, baby. But I mean,
The Pit,
the
baby.
baby.
Yeah, no, Shane got an office. I was in the pit.
No. I didn't have an office. I had a
Oh,
cubicle.
wow.
I willingly
Oh.
took the cubicle. Remember?
You had walls. Let's just say that.
Oh yeah, you guys had that awful like setup where like because it's also like a giant boys fest too, where just
Oh
like
yeah. Oh yeah. It's boys club.
yeah, and
But
Yeah, it's just potato chips.
I made my mark, I'd say, among them.
did you knife somebody? What happened?
Yeah, no, I would challenge them to physical exertion.
Be cool, boy.
Exactly. I'd just come in snapping around the corner.
Those boys haven't flexed a muscle since 2011. You know.
It's true.
Steven, you're in Chapel Hill right now?
I'm in Chapel Hill, Chapel Thrill, as they call it.
Chapel Thrill. So how long have you been there?
Since August 2020.
So you went in the middle of the pandemic.
I did. Well, it was kind of a low point of the pandemic spread that I moved here, but I did. It was very safe on the drive from Austin.
No, I'm sure the drive was safe. Like in fact, like I took a trip to Austin September. So like I get that,
Shame.
but
Shame on you.
Twitter shame on me.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
No, but I mean like you're living by yourself in a studio right now?
Yeah, I'm in a basement studio near campus. It's great. Laura's been here once, but with the pandemic, it's not conducive to travel.
I applaud your mental fortitude is what I'm saying. My niece is in her second semester of you're doing microbiology as your major?
Yes, but I'm in graduate school. I think your niece is in.
No, my niece is, oh yeah, she's doing her second semester. She's doing, like, it's just a lab work and all the, like, are you doing online classes or anything? Or is it all
online classes and then working in a lab for the rest of the day?
We're going to go into this, but it's just, this is all set up for the day-to-day of, like, you guys' album just came out Friday. Like, and it's, like, fucking out there, man. And it's like, yep, still working day-to-day.
That's all our music is about.
Yeah, let's dive into the music. I don't know when I figured out you guys had a band, because I mean, like we're all friends, but we've worked together a lot, but we weren't like close. We never like hung out a ton. And I just remember, I feel like I knew you guys were doing music on the side. I heard about more, and then I think it was the Young video. I saw that, and it just blew me the fuck away. And it was that really pleasant surprise when like you had like friends who were that talented and that good, and also that good at something I don't have to be competitive about or worry that you're taking a job away from me.
I love it.
Well, okay, so you guys' origin story supposedly was that where we first worked together, you guys were recording in the office. Is that true, or is that like some myth like you guys built up? Or
We may have built up all the stories. No, it was true.
100% true.
We recorded a couple. We cut a couple hits, I'd say.
okay, I did the night shift. You guys were recording. It's an office. I get that no one's around, but why there? Just because you guys were there and it was night shift?
Oh, this was during the broad daylight.
This was during the daylight. This is when everybody was in LA finishing finishing Night of Cups.
Okay.
And I think it was Night of Cups. Yeah. Finishing Night of Cups.
because things were still going on all the other projects, and we had to like assign different activities for empty rooms at the time, just to like keep us all kind of in some normal mental state. Like I remember one room was like a Scrabble room.
Yes.
And you could just come and go into the game.
Yeah, we played Slow Scrabble.
Slow Scrabble.
My time back was after this. So was there just good sound in the office?
No.
No, but there were some instruments there because of Song to Song.
Okay.
It turns out we actually didn't know, like, when that office shut down, they were like, wait, whose guitar is this? There was like a $3,000 Stratocaster there. I don't know who brought it in, but it was there. And so we would just fuck around with it. And Tomas, who's also a musician.
Tomas Van Gris, who has been a guest on the show.
That's right.
That's right. Great guest.
Great guest. Popular guest, too.
Nice.
Ooh.
I don't know how it started, but we did a parody of Where Is My Mind by the Pixies, rewritten to Where Is My Life, because none of us had healthy lives at that moment.
As an editing room goes, as a long-term editing room goes. So how many songs did you guys like ended up coming up with in that initial?
Well, they were all just like jokey songs like that, and then Steven and I wrote a song for another editor who was leaving, and performed it at his kind of going away party.
Is this Jeff? Or can we name names or?
It wasn't Jeff. It was Umar.
Oh,
although our
okay.
band was named after Jeff.
But we named our band after Jeff, who also left. Everyone was leaving, and we were like, how do we immortalize these people, these legends?
Wait. The band at the time was named after Jeff, or Sun June is named after Jeff?
Oh, we used to be called Jeff.
Oh, okay.
Jeff. Not even.
Jeffrey Richmond, a great editor too.
Yeah.
Amazing editor. Honestly, he was one of the reasons I stopped editing.
Because he was that good?
Like, I can't do this.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm never going to reach the mental temperament mixed with the skill. Like, I won't be able to reach either.
It's funny because I don't think I've ever overlapped with Jeff, but he's just, all I know him as to be the nicest guy. But at the same time, editors tend to be nice guys, tend to be like calm, collective, don't need to like insert themselves into anything, just kind of sit there with their arms crossed and take whatever is thrown at them. Editors.
I mean, I think in general that's true. Although there have been some editors that have walked the halls of that reality show building. We've mentioned it before.
Yeah.
The name shall be unsaid, but I've heard editors yelling at their screens.
Oh.
Shots.
Oh, sure, but they're not going to yell at a human.
No, but come on. That's out of control.
I won't lie if I'd be lying if, because my family has bad tempers, so like I would be lying if I said I haven't beaten the shit out of a mouse from time to time while editing. Yeah, so.
Click clack, click click clack.
So how did the band come from the after hour stuff?
Well then, more film things were happening. So Tomas started dabbling in this on this project of like, which Steven starred in. He was trying to make a movie with Steven.
Like a short or a feature?
It was unclear
Just footage.
what it was going to be.
As was the want at the time. Shoot and figure out later.
Yeah.
But Laura was in it too, though.
Yes, I was getting that. So it was like based on this character who also was a musician or a songwriter, aspiring songwriter, like musician, and had a roommate who he would play with, who was also like gonna leave town, and it was this big romance, like drama, and we also just kind of began taking from those like moments where we were supposed to be pretending to like play music together, like in a living room, just like ended up wanting to do it in real life, I guess. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'd say that. But yeah,
or were we playing together before? My memory of it is hazy because it was like, what's real and what's fake?
It's all parallel. Because I remember we were shooting that movie, and we were pretending a scene where I go buy a pedal, a guitar pedal, and on our drive to find some places to shoot, I was playing Tomas stuff you and I had recorded.
Oh.
And
gotcha.
He was like, "Oh shit! Like she's got an amazing voice." Because you used to do this joking voice. that was very
Yes,
annoying.
which I would play for him. He enjoyed that voice.
I know, but
I did a version of Stay, Rihanna's Stay, on my little wonky upright piano that I had in my house. But I would perform it at parties where we were all just like hanging out, laughing. But it's like my lounge singer voice. I mean, that's really who I am, and I'm sorry you can't handle that, Stephen.
Let me ask you guys this, because back in with that office, we did karaoke once, and it was amazing. And then never again. Did you guys ever do something like that whenever you were together, or?
Maybe we went to one karaoke party once together.
I don't remember. Karaoke is very anxiety producing for me, but
yeah, I don't enjoy.
Did you have like guitar karaoke where, or did you like play Guitar Hero at someone and get to show that off, or?
Yeah, I don't. It's all tough, but yeah. So I guess just Laura ended up moving in with Tomas around that same time too. So we ended up just spending a lot of time together and playing a lot of music together, and then the band slowly took shape.
Okay.
Will Patterson, who you might know, he helped us out too.
That's the weirdest thing that was also about, because the thing was like the editing we were doing at the time was very musical, and there seemed like there needed to be a lot of musical personalities there. But Will was the only musical one we had in office besides the composer. So like the fact that you guys showed like because the thing is, when you hear the song, like, this isn't like, I'm so used to my friends lo-fi like having to like prop them up and be like, you're almost there.
Yeah.
You guys were just like fully formed from the first few songs I heard.
Oh no, we can send you all the lo-fi stuff that happened before.
Yeah, we've got plenty of it.
Plenty of that. I still need propping up, Shane.
Oh, I will prop you up, but I was also going to say, take the win. You guys got there. You got to the finish line, or you got to like the next part of the relay, whatever. I think a recurring theme of this conversation is going to be like moving goalposts, though. But
yeah.
So, what was the next step? Like, you guys got enough songs together. When did the album start to come together?
I guess it was like a few years. No, it was a year after us kind of starting to play together, and then we got like our first real gig.
Were you guys good live performers?
No. Not me.
Well, everyone else was, not us, but okay, wait, let me backtrack. So the steps we took were like, I think we recorded a Tiny Desk concert submission. That was like our first recording of a song that we like practiced a lot, wanted to get it down.
And you did a live recording of a Tiny Desk concert submission.
Live recording, yeah. Will recorded it for us.
Was Will in the band or like helping out, just recording? What?
He played bass, I think, at the for that, but he wasn't actually in the band.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was just like helping out. Like, we really didn't have any friends besides him who were musicians, so he like introduced us to all of his buddies, and they all wanted to help out too, so that was cool. And Michael just like was the perfect we just connected a lot with Michael, and he's still in the band. So
Michael's our guitarist.
I was gonna say, is that how the band filled out?
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually.
Okay.
It was a really slow it was a slow moving vehicle through it all.
Okay, so I do want to get to you guys. We've talked so much about your filmmaking background and the like, I want to say amateurish like brilliance that you guys came up with musically. Like, you guys were that good. How did it seems like it came together? Like, again, the video with the song, and whenever I love you guys' music, it's always the video with the song that really gets the emotional reaction out of me. Like, were you guys like, we need to film all our stuff, or was it just like a promotional obligation that you guys had to do on top of it, or was it always film like we're going to be our filmmaking is still kind of not just our day job, but also a big important part of this project?
I think we're for better or worse, like kind of control freaks about how our image would be perceived, or like how we wanted the band image to look and feel, because so often it's like kind of like generic pushing of like, oh, Steven, with the eyebrow raise. Let me rephrase that.
Wait, did I
We
raise
didn't
my
want
eyebrows?
to. Yeah, we didn't want to be like put in the kind of normal, like, we didn't want to be put in a box of how bands are usually like marketed or um I don't know, rolled out. You know what I mean? And I think we just really enjoyed the idea of making our own music videos anyways, and we didn't have like a real budget regardless of all of that. We would not have been able to pay anyone to do any of it.
Sure.
So it was kind of out of necessity maybe. But we have a lot of strong opinions about how I think we want our videos to look.
Well, you directed one of the videos for the new album too, right? Or did you direct all of them?
We both have been directing them.
But yes, Laura
So
solo directed one of them. Yeah.
I solo directed one so far. Otherwise, it's me and Steven. Yeah.
So Stephen, are you back to Austin to direct some of these, or?
We did all the videos that we co-directed prior to me leaving. And then Laura directed the one after I left, and then I was in Austin for the Christmas break, and we shot some little thing together.
The one I really had the emotional reaction to was the Everything I Had. It was this mixture of like all the like times people were spent together. It was the mix of the chorus and the lyrics of the chorus. Just like, I want to get the fuck out of my house and see people again. And I mean, you guys have used the term regret pop for the songs, and like, I mean that's extreme. The nostalgia is really strong, but every time I listen to you guys' music, I miss Austin something fierce. Like and I like, there's also this weird thing of like, I don't know, it's just like when we all work together, like just to know that your coworkers like had this artistic longing inside them.
We had longings of all kinds, artistic and otherwise, back in those offices, I'm sure.
In theory, we were supposed to all be working on artistic projects where that longing was supposed to help, but that wasn't exactly how I felt like that all played out. Do we want to start to move on to the movies? Did you guys watch these?
I revisited them earlier today, actually.
Okay.
I did too. I didn't think I was going to, and then I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's start
Surprised.
Let's start chronologically. Monterey Pop. Laura,
Sorry, Shane. Sorry. Before that, I just want to say thanks for listening to the music.
Yeah, thank you for listening
and watching the videos. Thank you.
Yeah, it was such a terrible obligation to listen to beautiful emotional music. Monterey Pop, Laura, was kind of your suggestion. What do you, so you rewatch it again? Do you remember when you first saw it?
I don't remember when I first saw it. I mean, I must have been in high school.
Have you seen it a bunch of times? Is it something that's
maybe a handful, a few times? I think I've seen it in different settings. Yeah, in college, definitely, like for class, because I went to art school.
What was the class? What were they teaching do you remember?
It may have been during a documentary class. I know for sure when I first saw the other film, which was in college.
Gimme Shelter?
Yeah. That was during a Rolling Stones class.
Yes. Rolling Stones.
Went to a very dumb school. Yeah. That's it. I think it was a documentary class.
Okay.
That I watched Monterey Pop.
Steven, do you remember your first viewing?
Yes. I was at a party, and I don't know if they were playing it with sound. I think they must have been. Just the Otis Redding performance.
Is there I forgot, is there another, like, the Criterion separated out the Hendrix version? Did they separate the Otis Redding performance as its own movie?
Oh, maybe. I don't know if they did, but that would be amazing if they did.
Yeah, I don't know that either.
Because, yeah, I don't. It might have just been the clip that they were playing at this party, but I just remember just thinking it was amazing.
Wow, that's nice. What about you, Shane?
I had the odd, really awkward. So I'm a big person who likes to write down when I watch movies, and I've been using the service Letterbox to do that. The diary, it's like this really lazy journal, basically, because like when I know where I saw a movie, the date, I can remember what happened that day. And so when you first suggested, I was like, okay, and I got it and watched it and put it into Letterbox. I watched it that night, and Letterbox, as happens from time to time, told me I have seen this movie before. And usually when that happens, I think, oh, I put this movie on while I was getting drunk and falling asleep and just put it in. But I looked at the time frame, and no, it was before I drank. It was a period of intense cinephilia, and I didn't remember seeing it at all.
Wait a
And
minute. Shane, hold on. What time period is before you drank and a period of intense cinephilia?
the 2007 was when I saw it. 2007,
Oh.
2008, or something like that. Yeah.
But I mean, you were not an adult in 2007, 2008?
I was. I didn't really start drinking beer until I could afford it after
Oh.
a certain point. So
Okay, gotcha. That was just interesting.
I would drink every once in a while. I'd go out with friends, but like I never kept alcohol in the house because roommates would steal it.
God.
And we will dive a little bit into
Now I see.
these sociopathic roommates I lived with who were intense Austin musicians who killed out of me all my musical fandom while I was in Austin. But we can get to that later. Steven, the other thing I wanted to ask you about was when we were first talking about topics of what to watch, I mentioned Woodstock just because my brain was thinking like split screen, Thelma Shoemaker was involved with it, Scorsese edited on it, and you had
I didn't
the
know
most interesting comment. I don't know. Can you repeat it? Are you good with repeating it?
Oh, sure. What was the comment though? I'm happy to repeat it.
You said the people that went to that show ended up growing up and voting for Trump.
Oh, sure. I might have just said all those, expletives voted for Trump. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's true. I just, I think that, specifically, I just think that like, there's so much 60s unreal nostalgia. And like, if you look at the demographics, all those fucking people voted for Trump.
It's not even the just the fact they voted for Trump. It's just the fact that our entire lifetime we've had to listen to the narrative of the children of the baby boomers, the children of the greatest generation is defining us artistically forever, and that this was the greatest fucking period. And it's not even that it's bad. It's just okay. So Monterey Pop, when I was reading like the Wikipedia stuff or going through the Criterion extras, they kept talking about how this debuted Hendrix and the Who and Janis Joplin for America, and I was buying it a little, but I was also finding it kind of bullshitty. And I remember thinking that it was very much the like what you were saying about Woodstock, where it's like this is a kind of just like generic Hallmark version of this stuff. It's a very commodified version of it. And it wasn't until I read Robert Christgau wrote this really cool essay that was in Esquire, but it was also in his book Any Way You Choose It. But it's called Anatomy of a Love Festival. And the thing is, you read this essay about the whole Monterey Pop Festival, it's besides a few racial words in there, like it's very modern telling of it, because it points out that Otis Redding was the only major black artist that was playing there, and the hippies were basically children of like, you know, the children of World War II generation, the greatest generation, who fell in love with Bohemia but it was a ostensibly white bunch of fans who were really growing into their teenage college years, were really into pot music and had disposable income, and the music industry was suddenly flush with money at this point. Like, it was starting to realize how rich it was. And Stephen, you and I talked a little bit of this before recording, but like one weird theme going with you guys' day jobs right now versus the movies we're watching then are them being flush with money, and then suddenly the music industry, which is not lacking for enthusiasm in any period, suddenly isn't. Where like artists coming out with a album that like people are interested in are just like, yeah, is another day at our jobs or another day at school.
Well, since I talked about it, Laura might be able to comment on that. But I mean, I have no bitterness at all towards the music industry.
I have bitterness for you guys.
I have no bitterness at all. I only have bitterness for those Woodstock and Monterey pop. But you know, I bet all those counties around Monterey, I bet they went for Hillary.
Let's hope so.
So it's
well, it's California. It's the Electoral College. It doesn't matter.
That's true. But anyway, I'm interested in Laura's thoughts because Laura's dad almost made it to Woodstock.
Yeah. No, I mean, my mom did go to Woodstock. My dad almost made it to Woodstock. I think I don't know. I definitely understand, like, just you watch those movies and you're like, this time is just like full of whiteness and like people appropriating things, and it like makes me feel icky seeing it now in like even the current state of the world. You just like pick up on even more stuff. Like the very end of Monterey, there's a sequence before they get to Ravi Shankar's like big outro.
Yeah, big outro.
And they're like fucking moms and dad jeans and like old ladies like walking around the outside of the festival like buying artwork and stuff, and it's just like hilarious. It's like a totally different scene. It's like this commercial. It's just weird. It's a total disconnect from like hippie-dom to me. And also everyone was like seated. I thought I just think it's hilarious.
One of the fascinating things to me is the song, the San Francisco, Be Sure to Wear Flowers in Your Hair. Like, that song is familiar to me right now because have you guys seen that movie that came out, I think it's 3 years ago, Last Black Man in San Francisco?
It's been on my queue forever. I'm sorry, I have not seen it
yet. No.
As I was listening to that too, I thought, oh man, I would love to see someone make a trailer of this song matched with that footage, because I'm sure it would just like be night and day.
It's funny you mentioned trailer because I think the movie's great. It's a solid, great movie, but the thing is, it does not match. It's one of those movies that does not match the trailer. Its trailer is just beautiful and poetic, and it's set to a modern black cover of that song, like performed by Michael Marshall with the composer Emile Mosseri, and it is an amazing cover. But at the same time, the whole movie and that song, the new cover version, are about gentrification in San Francisco, and about like the whole movie's about like all these black families are being pushed out of San Francisco, and the original version of the song was a sales tool for the Monterey Festival, like bringing people to Haight-Ashbury too. It's
wait, what? The song itself was written for that.
It's not a commercial like jingle or anything, but like it was written basically in conjunction with it was supposed to bring people out to the festival, and
it was for the festival.
Amazing.
The formalities of how it was from the festival, the promoter. The other weird thing about the festival is like it was very predominantly California based. It was this weird fight between LA and San Francisco, where LA was where the record industry was ostensibly at the time. San Francisco was supposed to have the avant-garde people at, and so it was a fight between the two. But at the same time, the festival was really predominantly California acts. There were things like the Beach Boys backed out at the last minute, but they were supposed to be a part of it.
Cool.
The weird thing was the Rolling Stones were supposed to play. This is going to come up in Gimme Shelter, but they couldn't get into the States because Mick and Keith supposedly had, because of this pot charge, they couldn't get work visas, and that's why they couldn't tour for 3 years. So that's why when Gimme Shelter came out, the Madison Square Garden show was the big first show, and Altamont was supposed to be the end of the tour. That it was supposed to be their first American tour in 3 years, But basically, like, this is also like the first, I don't know, like Coachella, Bonner ACL, although it was like a, and it showed
pre Woodstock.
Yeah.
Yeah, pre Woodstock, and like the other curious thing I have about the movie and the show, more like I feel bad because like this is your pick. I didn't mean to be like tearing down this.
I'm not offended.
Okay, let's get into the positives. Why did you pick this? Because like there's, from a filmmaking standpoint and a performance standpoint, there's some cool shit in here. Like I was always big into like the Who performance, and I was thinking watching today the Jimi Hendrix thing. They filmed the last songs so where they can beat the shit out of the instruments, and supposedly beating the instruments was a big deal to in the sales when on the DVD, even though there was this thing where Antonioni for Blow Up was trying to use the Who in beating up their instruments, and Pete Townsend tried to say that he didn't think Antonioni could control them, so he couldn't get them, so they used the Byrds to beat their instruments up and Blow Up. But like,
oh wait, there's footage of the Byrds destroying their instruments in Blow Up?
Yeah, and so like
I don't know why that's so funny, but what a weird band to destroy their instruments.
Well, it's also just like this introduction to Middle America of like beating the shit out of your instruments. Because like I was in a band in high school, and our lead singer bought this really cheap JCPenney's guitar to destroy. And I remember the show he tried to beat it on a concrete floor, and it just didn't come apart. But
amazing.
But my point was Hendrix.
Shane, you're gonna have to cut into your own high school band here.
Yeah.
We're going to have to go to a little break, maybe 30-second break of high school band.
Gloriously, there is no recordings. Or also, I like the idea of like having this like very cheap tape recording with all this hiss in there, and then juxtaposing it with Sun June. Like there's, yeah. But the Hendrix shot in where he starts putting the lighter fluid over there. I was listening to commentary today, and I had to admit, like, the angle they got for that shot was so fucking iconic. It was so cool. Like, just the angle. And, like, because you've seen that shot in so many commercials and just overused. So, like, there's cool performances that are from this festival that are in the movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's all the movie is, anyways. There's no other document of the scene. It's really just the performances, even the musicians themselves reacting to other musicians' performances, like when
Mama Cass is doing the thing with Janis Joplin.
Amazing. Like that stuff to me is just so fun to watch because everyone's in on it, I guess. It's unfortunate that like the scene itself is kind of like just a telling of the time, but that's all you can do. I mean, P.A. Pennebaker was hired to like make this documentary by the festival.
This movie was like a $400,000 movie that was instigated by ABC, and then the executive, after he saw Jimi Hendrix gyrating with his amplifier, was like, "We're not airing that."
Yeah,
and the cooler thing that I found fascinating, especially from the first big festival, was one of the things is they gave out the Christgau phrase was they gave out 1,200 press people, and they credited it, the quote he used was anyone with a side hustle. So like anyone who's like, I'm press, like they got into the festival. And then it's got a shit ton of popular press, and then became the emblem of the summer, the '67 summer of love.
I mean, it is what it is, I guess. I don't know.
Did you guys feel like Pennebaker was just like lingering on a lot of young women? Seemed like every insert shot was just like nobody felt that.
I did not feel it, but I also like this is like we're talking the film industry where it's just like you're supposed to. There's the unspoken rule of doing that. Like
I guess
I didn't feel that.
You didn't feel that?
No, because I guess I don't know. Maybe it's something I enjoy seeing the ladies like having a good time, the ladies
there's a lot
totally
of cool...
confused by Jimi Hendrix lighting his guitar on fire and stuff. Like those reactions are sounds like you guys really don't like the movie, but I think it's fucking phenomenal. The camera work alone is like why I watch it.
The camera work is great.
No, the camera work's awesome. I think the editing style, like, they were talking.
Yeah, and lady editors.
They were talking about the fact that they don't fade out after every song. Like there's this hard cut to the next song, and they'll cut out like right at the outro. There was a structure because I guess ostensibly this is mainly the first concert documentary film, or at least the first popular commercial one. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe, but Pennebaker had experience shooting Dylan. I think the previous 2 years.
Right, that had just come out.
Yeah, I mean, so much of that's the behind the scene touring, though. The structure he talked about on the documentary was that they wanted to do it as a history of popular music and the various thrusts that caused it. So, Canned Heat's one of the first ones, and the supposedly Southern Blues, which is a very white Southern blues. Simon and Garfunkel is the poet coming in to deal with it. Then Hugh Maselica is the jazz influence. And later he pointed out that the Mamas and the Papas are supposed to be the romantic image of pop. This is the history of pop music.
Who said this?
Yeah, who's writing this?
This is Pennebaker on the commentary.
Well.
This is the structure they were trying to get. This is how they were trying to get through the concert footage. And then finally, Ravi Shankar is supposed to be the beyond of popular music.
I agree with that statement.
I was curious about the order because I was like, they're ending on a day concert. You know, I was confused. Okay, yeah.
And it was a 3-day concert too, and the Christgau essay really detailed what happened day to day. But I mean, you guys have been to your share of ACLs, right? And or just normal festivals. And
I've never gone to a festival, but Laura's big Bonnaroo alum.
All right. Been to a couple.
The multiple stage thing is a lot.
You've been to a festival with me, Stephen, just for a day.
Mountain Jam, baby.
Yeah, up in New York.
Yeah, late great Tom Petty.
What was the festival?
Mountain Jam. It's
I thought Mountain Jam was a jokey name.
It's a legit name. That area is like Levon Helm's Society, you know. And
is this your hometown area?
Yeah. So it's in the Hudson Valley. It's in the Catskills.
Okay.
You know, it's like a 40-minute drive from my town. And so it's every summer, and like it's the easy excuse for kids to go party for 3 days, because it's just that accessible, I guess. But I didn't really go that much in high school. Now I'm just going on a tangent. I was more in the Bonnaroo crowd of having to drive somewhere for like 14 hours straight and like then come back for finals. That was the thrill seeking that we all
Bonnaroo is actually kind of nearish to here. And I remember my brother lived in Memphis, and he had to he works in telecommunications. He had to work on getting the tower set up for them for their internet.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a commercial festival. My God.
What year do you remember going? What was it?
I went in 2007 and 2008. And I mean, both years were pretty corporate, but by 2008, it was like sold to maybe MTV or something weird like that. I should look this up before I clear this on the podcast, but it was bought by a big conglomerate.
Let's stick to the positive. What was your favorite performances from those two?
Ooh,
who was good?
Well, there was like this thing that they did, where they grabbed a couple different artists to play together in like super group. So there was like a super group that comprised of Questlove on the drums, John Paul Jones hitting the bass.
Okay.
And and then I think it was Ben Harper was leading.
Would it be insane? Was there a David Byrne and St. Vincent collaboration at that time?
Not.
That was a little later.
No. So the first time I ever saw St. Vincent, I want to say is like 2008, and she just come from a festival. I thought she said it was Bonnaroo, and she said she just had her first collaboration with David Byrne. And then obviously Love This Giant came out like 3 or 4 years later. Yeah.
Whoa, crazy. I don't remember that
It
happening.
might not have been Monterey. I can't remember.
I remember Wilco played.
Oh, shit.
That was like a day show too, so it was like everyone was feeling fresh. It may have been like the second day. We weren't all like exhausted, and it was like very fun.
Back briefly to the band. I just heard you guys' Wilco cover the other day. That was really good.
Thanks.
Oh hell yeah,
That was
Shane,
fun.
that's a deep cut, man. That's you get brownie points.
Well,
You do.
it's not. It doesn't take much of a YouTube dive for that one. Other things I wanted to point out. Pennebaker around this time, he was working with Godard, and Godard was really into the Jefferson Airplane performance in Monterey Pop. So they tried to make this movie that they originally called 1 a.m. and the AM was supposed to stand for American Movie. And Pennebaker's studio or office was across the street from Rockefeller Center, or somewhere in view of Rockefeller Center. And they tried to get Jefferson Airplane to play on the roof of a building in New York well before the Let It Be final Beatles concert. And the police cut it off like halfway through the first song, supposedly.
Amazing.
And Godard never finished the movie, and they ended up calling the movie 1 p.m., which Pennebaker calls one perfect movie, and Godard calls one Pennebaker movie.
Wow, burn.
Burn.
Is it a burn? Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I guess. Well, in context, that's he didn't want anything to do with it. Sounds like.
Godard has that weird period, like towards the end of the '60s, right before he jumped into video, where like he could have there's this vibe of like everyone in the film industry wanted him to take over. Like they just like they wanted him to be like take down Coca-Cola and all of American commerce, and it just didn't happen. But they were willing to give him the keys to the kingdom. It felt like, but
sounds like one big disappointment. Yeah. That guy. Just kidding.
Did you? Oh, extra letters. Did you guys? Did you guys have more for Monterey Pop?
I think there's plenty. I think in the context of Gimme Shelter, it's just it's so frivolous compared to what the Maysles were trying to do, I think.
There's that transition also. There's this point in Monterey Pop where I think early on they were like, we were worried about the Black Panthers and the Hells Angels coming to the concert.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I felt like it's a good transition line.
Totally. The Otis Redding died later that year. And I think the
cool thing was Pennebaker said that he was editing Otis Redding's performance when he found out that Otis Redding died.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
such a tragic loss. But I mean, like that. I think that performance is just out of control, and I think the footage is iconic. But also, I didn't realize because I hadn't seen the full thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Who and Jimi Hendrix, they were at Woodstock too, right?
Jimi Hendrix was.
Yeah, because he did the Star Spangled Banner at Woodstock. I don't know about the Who at Woodstock. There was a thing where they were competing with each other in London, and they were both destroying their instruments and popular in England at the time, and they supposedly either flipped a coin or the promoter made so that the Who went on first and then Hendrix went on last. But he didn't go on last because it was Mamas and Papas were the last one on Sunday night.
No, but I think that story I think is from Woodstock.
The coin flip is from here. I don't know about.
It's from Monterey Pop.
They could have been both stories. The both festivals.
Woodstock Wiki, baby. The Who, day 2.
Wow.
Started at 5 a.m.
My God.
So, because
that reminds me at 5 a.m. waiting for Kanye to never show up.
But I have a friend who went to that show.
Yeah.
But this is why I wanted to bring it up, because I'm pretty sure that both were at both things.
Okay.
Both destroyed their instruments at both things, and I think the idea that you are at a festival destroying your instruments in 1967, and then you have to redo it 2 years later, or you've been doing it, I just found that sad.
Super sad. That's a shtick.
It's a shtick, and it's so. To me, it just drove home. I don't know, not to be too dour, but it just drove home just like how gross some of this stuff actually was. Like, it's just consumption. It's just
I,
consumption.
I totally had that vibe too. What I felt really bad about was because when like my friend who was in the band or the band leader destroyed his instruments, we were doing it because of Kurt Cobain. And I just remember the 90s didn't have that consumption vibe to it, but watching it here is like abundance. And they're like, destroy this shit that World War II made us, you know?
Well, maybe when you put it that way, maybe it's cool. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I, I don't know. Maybe we're just like I'm hyper aware of like the consumption aspect because we know where it is leading, which is to where we are now. Because
Yeah.
it was just like gross. I was like, this is the first time, like you said, they're young, they have disposable income, and it's
Yeah.
just it's the first time the world allows for this type of consumption,
Yeah.
and the
No,
people are fucking loving it.
well, it's also just like, what are you rebelling against, really? And it's just like
Oh,
this
interesting.
this abundancy of college education and working government and working American society. Fuck this shit. Like we don't.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I didn't. I
I
didn't
don't
pick up.
know.
I didn't pick up that. I mean, I know that there's. I mean, I think that some of it is cool. I think some of the '60s stuff is probably real, and some beneficial, like
I mean,
breakdown of.
it is 67 and 68 was the big riot summer, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
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 Anyway, I don't know enough about it to comment on it. Rather than it was interesting, and I think not as good of a movie as Gimme Shelter, obviously, but.
Yeah, I mean, I really am curious. Like, how does this thing spread? Like, is it just journalists liked it?
Oh, I think the performances are awesome. I mean, I remember watching like
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle's Block Party. Laura, you ever see that?
Oh yeah, it's great.
A Michel Gondry movie.
And that's the first concert film I've ever seen.
I forgot about that movie, honestly.
My point was like, how was Monterey Pop widely distributed? Because it came out, it was shot
No
this,
idea.
it shot the Summer of Love '67. It didn't air on ABC. It was released theatrically. It was 16 millimeter, blow up to 35 in '68. Like, is this? I mean, I get like Janis Joplin does have a really iconic star making. Like, it's fucking amazing, her performance. But like, is it like, was it immediately star making? Was it star making a year later? Was it after like, retroactively after the fact? People were like, she was good, and this is the point where it happened. Was it the press pushing her after this? Like, what exactly sold all these people to the as the new music scene in America or the California music scene?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I wonder if I probably wouldn't have been cool enough to be plugged in back then, but like, it probably would have blown my freaking mind if I saw this in theater in 1968.
Yeah, right.
I would have been in Indiana. What the fuck would I know? Laura, I did have one more Monterey Pop question I want to ask you about, just because one of the things I love about, I feel like you guys have made some from productions we've worked on. You've learned how to make something iconic looking, and there's like with pop music, you want your videos and the selling of it to make it look iconic, and like I don't know, is there an overlap with Monterey Pop for you on this? Just because there's so much myth making in like some of these performances of like things that you've paid attention to or things that are like important to you with both just the video making and also the performances and the songs themselves.
I mean, definitely little details of those performances stick with you for like something that you want to also get like that feeling of again. Like when he cuts to Janis Joplin's feet tapping,
Yeah.
it's just so good. Like you feel such joy. And then like when you're behind Otis Redding and the light is like flashing this halo around him and you see his breath, it's just like
The backlit shots on stage at night are so good in the movie.
yeah, those are iconic and absolutely something that in particular we tried to get in a way when we were filming our music video for Karen O.
Pennebaker talked a lot about this, like, there was this weird thing with Joplin where, like, there was still all this, like, behind the scenes, like, they couldn't release one performance, but then they could release another, and how, like, childlike and excited she was when, like, she knew she was going to get to perform again on Sunday night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was.
That's weird because she's so known for being like carefree, laid back about like not being in her head about stuff, but I guess she was.
Well, no, no,
in her-
no. It was. I don't think she was in her head. It was just like her
Oh,
manager was telling her this isn't getting released, and then like, hey, you can go on again because everyone knew how good you were. Like there was the Christgau had this amazing.
oh, I see.
Christgau had this amazing line that I thought was amazing, where he said that he thought she was the best new rock vocalist since Ray Charles.
Yeah.
Wait, who said that?
Robert Christgau. He was a big Rolling Stone, Village Voice writer. He was writing for Esquire at the time.
Yeah. I like his reviews are nice and short.
Yeah, Consumer Guide. Yeah. So, are we moving on to Gimme Shelter now?
Let's do it.
When did you guys first see Gimme Shelter?
I saw Gimme Shelter for the first time in a college class. And
Well, this is the college class we were talking about earlier.
correct. Yes.
Steven?
I saw it in Austin because my friend Rebecca suggested it. Specifically, the shot of Mick Jagger getting into the car. He's leaving the Holiday Inn, and he has a long scarf on.
And he has to
Remember that
pull up
shot?
the scarf from the
Yeah, he has
from
to
the
pull
door.
up the scarf
So
so
good.
someone can close the door for him.
It's still so amazing that they slept in Holiday Inns in Alabama outside
Yeah.
Muscle Shoals. Yeah.
So good.
Well, okay, so 21 years ago, I can't find the recording, but 21 years ago, I was writing for a magazine, and when Criterion put out Gimme Shelter, I got to interview Albert Maysles about Gimme Shelter,
Unbelievable.
and it was he was super cool. It was a super cool interview because back at I did a few interviews for this magazine, and I always made sure I was like thoroughly researched on them, and they gave us like a half hour, and I got really cocky after Maysles was my first one. I did a few more. I got cocky until Frank Black kind of kicked me in the ass. I interviewed him, and he was like, "I'm not enjoying this." But with
Frank
Maysles,
Black from the Pixies?
yes, I interviewed him, and apparently he didn't enjoy me asking him repeatedly if he liked Radiohead and Nirvana being influenced by him. But Albert Maysles, I did my research on him, and I want to say a half hour I was allotted with him turned into 3 hours. And I'm pissed off because I can't find the transcript. My hope is if I can find the tape, I was going to make this the next episode, but I cannot find the tape as far as I can tell, so it doesn't look positive. But he was super cool, and like we exchanged letters afterwards. He sent me because one point I had started finding out like him working with. I kept asking about working with Godard and Orson Welles, and so he sent me a VHS of him working with Orson Welles and his footage he shot of a bullfight with Orson Welles. But
Jesus.
yeah, Albert Maysles, he was so happy it seemed like that someone was this interested in it, and at the same time, like I think he was just getting a glimpse of how many people were interested in his filmmaking, and because Godard at one point called him the best cameraman in America, and like Gimme Shelter feels like just the other thing that came up in the interview was he thought that like he compared it to In Cold Blood with Truman Capote, where it was just like this is a concert movie that goes beyond a concert movie and suddenly has the feelings of a thriller just because you know what's going to happen. The movie's structured so you know it's going towards this horrible ending.
So does Albert Maysles like Radiohead Nirvana or what?
That part
Great answer there.
that part did not come up. I kept asking him about the fly on the wall stuff too. I'm like I feel look, I'm saying all this like I don't like it's 21 years ago. Like I just this morning I found the cut down version that was published, so I don't remember all the like.
Whoa, that's cool.
Well, they're like, oh, my voice is JJ and Albert Maysles. I hope you like me, like original recording. So I don't know. He was cool. He was very cool.
I mean, such a good camera person. It's crazy.
Well, they made Great Gardens by this point, so like
Salesman. Have you seen Salesman?
Or no, they made Salesman. Grace Gardens was later, and like he was already, and he worked on Monterey Pop. He was one of the cameramen there too. And Pennebaker talks about Pennebaker talks about him being like this, like, anytime you see this, the joke Pennebaker made was Albert Maysles can film someone from a distance without them knowing they're filming them, to the point where they would go into the room and make love, and Pennebaker would still be able to film them without them knowing they're being filmed.
Strange conceit, but that, yeah, I get that.
The other two filmmakers of note on Gimme Shelter was George Lucas was at Altamont filming it, but apparently his camera jammed and none of his film is in the final cut. But one of the sound people at Altamont was Walter Murch.
Well, Godard famously referred to Lucas as the worst cameraman in America.
There you have it.
24 frames a second, the worst. What was you guys' reaction to Gimme Shelter the second time?
I think I was I think with everything I'm just like way more sensitive, or like Steven was saying, hyper aware of kind of where we are now, like we, as you know, society and culturally, like the whiteness, you know, of that time. Obviously it was like hovering over it as like a dark cloud anyways, with all of the
There's a lot of dark clouds over this movie.
yeah, but even like the maleness and like
the maleness,
whiteness, yeah. I felt it even from the people that we were supposed to be like rooting for, in a sense, to some degree.
Have you guys ever felt that, like, Mick Jagger? I think it's a vaguely mod British thing, but he always reminds me of Malcolm McDowell in Clockwork Orange, and so he gives me this like vaguely intimidating male presence. Let's just say.
Oh yeah, it can be a little icky. I mean, there's certainly plenty of documents, there's plenty of footage of them, you know, going kind of crossing the line in many ways, you know. So I get that.
And there feels like there's a lot of like not great stories about the Rolling Stones crossing that line already. So
right, yeah, totally. So that all felt like way more like hitting me harder, and like even when they were kind of reviewing footage, and Charlie Watts is like just his way of internalizing the moment.
Well, Charlie Watts seemed like the only one who was reacting, because it's famously that Mick Jagger was not reacting that strongly. Like, he had some flinches at the beginning when the radio call-in show was played, but like he gave some interview to John Winter in the mid '90s, where he didn't want to cop up to this like idea that like I was witnessing the '60s dying. He just felt bad about someone dying in front of him. But I mean,
yeah, his biggest reaction was against his own response in an interview.
He gives that like, weird utopian quote early on. Yeah.
I love that though. Don't you, I mean, it seems like the Maysles want so badly to access some interiority from the Stones, and they can't get it. They cannot get it. And they maybe get it a little bit with Watts, but like not that much, and it's just like it's cool.
Well, when I talked to him, because I felt bad, because it was this days well before I was ever near an editing suite, so I kept asking him editing questions. And Albert Maysles said he had nothing to do with the editing, but that was Charlotte Zwerin was the one of the co-directors who was basically in charge of editing. Basically, they set it up where
I think she edited all their movies.
They basically set it up to where they were going to film the Stones, because they said they wanted to come and watch it, and their reactions was going to be the way that you kept the fly on the wall methodology, but still got to show some interiority with them.
I've heard that it was her idea to have them watch it, but I could be wrong.
That totally makes sense, because I also felt bad when I was looking at the interview. Like, I was not interested in her at all. I was talking about the the male Maysles brothers is all I asked
So I
about.
could be totally wrong about both the statements, but what I remember, could be wrong, is that she's edited all their movies, but she got the directing credit on this because it was her idea to have them watch it. And I find it so fascinating because, like, I don't know, especially just in the 60s, it's like those images are we know those images to be iconic, and we're able to watch the Stones like look at their own emerging iconography. You know, it's really weird.
But this movie is about failure, it feels like. Like, it's because it's like there's just such dread going into this movie. Like, it's not a traditional concert movie. Like, the great critic Lester Bangs thought that at Altamont he was there, and he thought the Stones had never sounded better than when they played there. And maybe this is a great tour. Like, the whole movie opens with the photo shoot for the Get Your Yayas Out photo cover. The Madison Square Garden show is where they did most of the recording from that show. And, like,
oh, interesting.
Yeah, like, this was Let It Bleed, I think, was released mid tour, and like the Muscle shows, they recorded Brown Sugar, Wild Horses, which they showed Wild Horses, and You Gotta Move, both all songs from those are songs from Sticky Fingers. But like, it's weird how, like, this isn't a triumphant movie. This is because this movie premiered at the 71 Cannes Film Festival.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Wow. I wonder, you know what I'm curious about is if the Maysles were, I don't know if you guys saw Salesman, but there's not really a landing point, right? They don't like have an ending to go to. And I think they filmed for like the majority of this tour. That's why they were in Alabama.
So basically they were friends with Haskell Wexler. Haskell Wexler asked them if they wanted to film Madison Square Garden. They filmed there. They filmed Baltimore. I don't know how they got to Muscle Shoals, but I don't know exactly, because I want to say they really only filmed the coasts. Like, they only filmed Altamont and Madison Square Garden. Like, I might
okay.
be I might be. Maybe you're right. Maybe they
With
did
Muscle
film
Shoals in the middle. Well, I'm just curious because after Altamont, they had to make the movie about that. They had to make the movie about Altamont, and I'm curious if the Maysles almost resents the wrong word, but like it seemed to me like there might be another movie there. Like, if Altamont doesn't end in tragedy, like, what is the movie? Anyway.
Yeah, but I get the feeling they had limited access. And when I asked him about it, because I was, again, asking the editorial, how do you figure this out? And he was, again, I was asking stupid questions. I was asking him the very, like, were you watching the end of a generation 6 months after Woodstock? And how was that? And how he lucked into it. But I think the general vibe was like, you film someone long enough, you get the narrative of a person's life. And I don't know. I mean, the bigness of Altamont was
300,000 people were there. It's crazy.
Altamont is in and of itself fascinating. One of the cool
4 births. That's what's fucked up. The deaths are fucked up. The births are way more fucked up.
4 births, was it?
Yeah.
4 deaths, 4 births. The crazier thing that I noticed for the first time watching this the second time was, you guys have seen David Fincher's movie Zodiac?
I don't think I have.
I have not.
There's a scene where a San Francisco lawyer named Melvin Belli, who's played by Brian Coxon there, has to talk to the Zodiac killer on the phone. Melvin Belli is the lawyer for the Rolling Stones who's negotiating. The real Melvin Belli is the one that's negotiating the Altamont thing. And he was also, by the way, Jack Ruby's lawyer.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
The guy with the cool glasses?
Yeah, who had the giant library office with all the alcohol on the bookshelves.
So cool.
Yeah. I mean, they filmed that, which you already realize. Like, they go out of their way to film this interaction because they know that the production of this thing that they're trying to do is going to be a shit show.
Yeah,
like,
good point, Laura. But that's what I guess I was curious. If they filmed that, did they film other stuff?
Yeah.
There's something about the fact that like I want to say I did in the research 21 years ago. I don't remember it now, but like it was someone from the Grateful Dead suggested, why don't you guys get the Hells Angels to be your security? And they paid the Hells Angels so little money to do. Yeah. And they promised them all this beer, and they were obviously.
That's all they were in it for, basically.
It's such a shit show. It's just like, what did you expect? Like, I get that, like, you want this utopian idea of like the music's gonna make everyone bring out the love for everybody, but it didn't.
No.
A lot of drugs too, I think.
Oh yeah.
That can't help.
That was the thing Maysles also said to me that I'd forgotten about, was he said that a bunch of people got off drugs after watching Gimme Shelter, and I said to him like, oh, I just noticed people not wanting to drink after watching the Hells Angels.
Yeah.
I mean, I have never heard Under My Thumb the same after seeing this movie. Like, Under My Thumb is just like constantly I think of as the song where someone got stabbed 6 times while this song played.
So gross.
And like the way the sequence plays out in the movie, it's like the Zapruder film. Like, it's just like they have to go back over it again, and they have the point where they show the gun up against the dress to make sure that the gun was there.
Yeah.
Like the original story supposedly was that the guy was named Meredith Hunter. He had been warned about the county, so that's why he had the gun on him. Witnesses found him said he looked like he had drugs in his system, although one witness said didn't look like the case. The autopsy showed that he did have methamphetamines in his system, but a lot of people basically saw it as like the Hells Angels were hassling him because he had a cute Berkeley white girlfriend. And he pulled the gun. It was a .22. It was this long .22, which they show in the movie. There's supposedly a frame where there was a orange muzzle, but they couldn't tell it was a fire or not. Some Hells Angels witness say that he was trying to come at the stage, but the film shows stabbings, and it's just, you witness a fucking snuff film in a concert movie. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't make it to that on my second viewing today, or my viewing today, because I didn't want to watch it. But didn't this kind of like end the Maysles false idea that they could be flies on the wall? Didn't they have to like testify or something at some point?
I don't know. That makes sense. The one thing I found was the guy that killed the guy was acquitted on self-defense.
But it went to court.
It did go to court. Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. So Crosby, Stills, Nash are at both Monterey Pop and Heron are not in the final film. Santana is not in the film either. There's all the fights from the Hells Angels earlier in the film. Jefferson Airplane gets hit over the head. Grace Slick at one point kind of does this both sides ism where she's just like, keep your bodies off each other unless you intend love. The Hells Angels, by the way, are considered a organized crime organization by the FBI statistics right now. Like, I've always been fascinated with them in general, just because, like, I guess there's the Hunter S. Thompson book, but just like little things like they have the matching jackets in the movie.
Oh yeah. It's when it's not scary, it's hilarious.
Why did we pick this movie? Just because, like, it was culturally more, it has something going on with it, as opposed to it had some substance and some real life and death stakes?
Good question.
Versus other ones?
Like Monterey Pop.
I was thinking, too, about one that we didn't mention in the thread was, it's a great music movie, is I'm Trying to Break Your Heart. Have you seen that, Laura? About the making of Yotel, blah blah blah, about the making
Yankee
of,
Hotel Foxtrot.
Yeah.
Oh no, that made me think of a different. I mean, it sounded like Wilco, but it made me think of something else. I'll bring that up later. We can keep talking about this.
That has this amazing version of "I'm Always in Love" from Summer Teeth. That like it's what Glenn Kotsky is the new drummer from Wilco that takes over.
Oh yeah.
It was when he came on. I thought that version of that is the definitive version of that song.
Yeah, great song. You're just asking why we picked it, and I was just thinking about the music docs that we were.
There's so many great music docs out there, also that weren't mentioned that we could have. Like, I would have loved to have watched 20 Feet from Stardom again.
You know, I still haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's amazing, you guys. You have to watch it. We should have watched that. I'm sorry. That's a stellar movie.
That's on you.
That's on all the listeners to this point.
Did you ever see? There's who's the banjo player?
Scruggs.
Steve Martin.
Yeah, he's got the rhythm.
The Jerk? You're talking about The Jerk?
Yeah, you know that famous musical, The Jerk.
Are you talking about Scruggs?
No. Bella Fleck. Bella Fleck is the player, and the movie is called Throw Down Your Heart. Bella Fleck goes to a few different places in Africa to show people like the origin of the banjo, basically. That it was like an African instrument.
He goes to mansplain.
So it's like
he goes to mansplain the banjo to the.
He goes to his village.
The banjo was invented in Africa.
Yeah, he goes to he meets up with all these different artists, African artists, and just jams with them basically. So it's very Paul Simon, meets the old crew. It's from my memory of it, it was very good. Besides the whole like white guy going to Africa thing.
This does roundaboutly get to something I was thinking about. One of the big celebrations of Monterey Pop was they were talking about film stocks getting fast enough, sync sound, because the Pennebaker was he was a filmmaker who was finding ways of getting real-time filmmaking of behind-the-scenes stuff with, innovations in film speeds and sync sound to like get you behind the scenes of something that you wouldn't see before.
Yeah, he designed his own camera, right?
I mean, I
think he did.
Maybe you can speak to more to that. I heard about that.
Oh, I mean, I think he designed a camera to make it smaller. He's just trying to be sneaky.
One of the reasons I don't think I appreciated Monterey Pop enough, especially first viewing until I read more about like context on it, was I just got this vibe of like, I've seen these performances before. I've seen these people perform before. This was supposedly the first time you were seeing them in a very slash and grab filmmaking session where people were trying to get footage and sound and mix them together. And now it's so fucking commonplace to where like a live performance is just not a big deal. Although if Christopher Nolan decided that he was going to shoot 120 frame 70 millimeter version of Billie Eilish right now and
then reverse it,
would we flip out? Like,
yeah, reverse the set list, Laura. A little Memento action. Is that what you mean?
No, Tenet. No, right? No. All
right. Yeah, I think I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be that excited about it.
Yeah.
But I think you're right in the fact that like this is kind of the first version, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean it was not that. It's just like, is this the first version, or is this like the newer version of like a kinescope shooting Elvis from the waist up? Like it's better, and the more we get more intimate with these performers and musicians as they come up with beautiful music, do we get deeper into their brains as they're lyrically presenting something to us or musically presenting something to us? Are we fighting for that, or does it fucking matter?
I think there's a scene in Gimme Shelter that feels like it's adding something, where it's slow motion of Mick Jagger while the song's playing. Did you guys see that?
The slow motion stuff is so good because they use it in the trailers too. It's so good.
It's so good,
and it begins with the close up of them, just like kind of, yeah.
The close up of what? Of the crowd?
Of the crowd, and it's like a couple ladies, maybe, I don't know. It's some people in the crowd, and they're just like, they're all in one like flow of bobbing and weaving to the music.
Does this go back to the ladies' point you were making about Monterey Pop, Steven?
Except
Yes,
these ladies
although
use it.
this shot was less voyeuristic. But I guess it could have been Maysles. Now that I know Maysles was at Monterey Pop, it could have been him lingering on all those people.
I actually think it probably was Maysles based on what the commentary was saying. So, but I mean, that's based on that.
Well, he matured by the time he got to Gimme Shelter then.
Oh, I love the use of returning to the same lady, the same woman in the crowd later on when they just keep like having to restart songs.
There's that one great shot of the girl crying in right before all the shit goes down.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, the editing is out of control good, right?
Very.
The thing I regret most not asking Maysles about was just the setup on the stage of them filming, just because they were so close to everybody on the stage. They had the big behind the scene shot. There was a lot of shots mainly in Gimme Shelter. From an editorial standpoint, there was this willingness not to cut. Like especially when you got a shot of a Hell's Angels looking like he wanted to fucking kill everyone around him, like they just would not cut off it. And like especially when band members are on stage and just like they kept with it just to show it was chilling. It was very effective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess what I want to start to wind down with is one of the things I've been talking a lot on here about is this idea of like the pandemic has gotten rid of FOMO. And yeah, and the thing is like, what is pop music really supposed to be like? It's short for popular music, and popular is supposed to be ephemeral and like move on and like change, and it's all about image making and myth making. And you guys are making some really good music right now. You guys are making some really cool images with music too right now, but you guys are dealing with right now like a industry that is not what it was in 1967. Like it's not as lucrative as it was in 1967. Like if I were to say that music is really the idea that music is never as important to someone as they are when they're 18 years old, do you think that's unfair?
I don't think that's unfair.
Are you guys appealing to 18-year-olds?
No.
I think you guys' music has to appeal to someone who's lived a little bit of life, so there's that.
Yeah, it's very midlife, you know.
Cuts the bone, Laura. Cuts the bone.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I don't think that we worry too much about like whether or not we can survive in the music industry. I think we're just like our scope is pretty small, and we're excited to do what we can. But I don't know. I'm not too worried about it. Are you, Laura?
I've never once worried about it. I should elaborate more, but maybe I also don't.
Yeah, elaborate.
I think we try to keep the realities of what you just mentioned just like in check. Like we know what the industry is there's so many indie artists and so many artists that I wish were getting, more attention than they get. And so I feel like we're really lucky and honored to be part of even that like subset of musicians and a community. There's a strong community for sure, like who show up for those artists, and that's awesome. So I can't ask for more, certainly. And we'll just keep doing us, and whatever happens happens. That's all.
Yeah, and we've all been in the film industry at least some point. I'm not in it anymore, but Shane, the phenomenon that happens at parties where like maybe this only happens to me, where
I got a feeling it happens to all of us.
Well, like there's opportunity at a film party. Like there either is or perceived opportunity where like, oh, I could connect with someone who could like help me get the next project, right?
I have this really big problem where like it's not really a problem. Like I've managed to try to simplify it where it's just like I need to stop thinking this as a transactional thing. Like I just want to be friendly with people. And like if something
Totally.
happens, cool. If not, I just
Mhm.
want to be friends with people. Like I don't want to like base like I like what one of our old bosses got in contact with me recently and got me down this research binge, and I was looking up this thing for this artist that he was making me look up, and the research he started talking about this thing called um, it was resume values versus eulogy values, and the idea was
Well, heavy.
no, it's basically, do you want to like have done stuff in your life that's important that got you your next job, or do you want to do the stuff that people talked about you at your funeral being a good person?
Wow.
Yeah. And immediately it was very clarifying. I was like, "Oh shit." Cuz it was really clarifying cuz it's like, "Oh yeah, that's what I've been going for like the last I don't know, 2 years where it's just like I you know, I can't control what uh success is or what is happening to me career-wise, but it's not worth not being a good person or not being kind or nice to people. Like that needs to be North Star of fucking everything. So
Well, I definitely want
I
people to
think
hand out my resume at my funeral.
that might
I
I want
guess.
to hand out my resume at someone else's.
Yeah, because how are you realistically going to get new work from
Right.
the grave? Like, are you just
Yeah,
going to
that's right.
reanimate yourself? Like,
This guy lost his job. Maybe I should get it.
But I guess what why I bring it up is that, since the music industry, quote unquote, like, is not doing well or whatever, like, I've never had the feeling like everyone is so nice.
Yeah.
Because the only people who are in it for absolute love of it, because there aren't that many. It's it's not like the film industry where there's more opportunity. I do find that, like, the more we're able to do in this industry, I'm just surprised that everyone's cool and everyone's good. Like, so many good bands
Yeah.
out there, it's crazy. So it's like a little bit different than, I guess, other
Yeah, the nature of it.
nature of it's different. Yeah. And good, right? I feel like it's pretty cool out there, Laura.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's always like egos and competition in whatever you're doing, like a little bit.
But it feels so minor compared.
So much more minor. And well, also maybe because it's grown into this more of a, you know, a scattered scene, and like dive bars are also like great venues for artists who are even well established in their community. Like they like playing these places because lots of people are there, or like it's really small cover fee or whatever. Like every night of a bar performance type of, pre-pandemic world, it's like not your platform is just totally different than someone trying to get a film out there.
I mean, it's definitely more intimate. I got a vibe that it's going to be more successful much more quickly than film is going to be.
Yeah,
You're going to be able to play a dive bar much sooner than anything else.
exactly.
Well, and just in terms of creative practices, unrelated to the industry, you mentioned earlier, Shane, that, like, you're trying to convince yourself, like, it's not a big budget issue with film, and I applaud.
We talked
your
about this
attempt.
before recording, yeah.
Yeah, I applaud your attempt to believe that, but it's just much harder to iterate. If you're trying to make films, it's just much harder to make them. And, like, you can make hundreds of songs a year for a couple $100.
Yeah.
And not put them out. And not put them out, get better. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
I would be remiss. I need to ask you guys about recording. Like how do you guys feel about home studio versus actual like professional studio recording?
Well, in one case, we have someone operating at the helm who knows what they're doing.
And that was true for both records.
Yes, yes. I'm saying the difference between
Yeah,
comparing.
the
Home
difference between
studio versus someone
versus-
knowing
yeah.
what they're doing.
But yeah, we were with people who knew what they were doing both times and in a big studio. So I think there's obviously like freedom in being at home. And I've even since learned that like recording whatever extra vocals I need to do in like a quiet, safe place where like the pressures are off, it's a totally different sound. Like my voice is just completely different. So there's like performative aspects of being in the studio versus like home recording, I think. That differ for better or worse. But it's also just like fun to go into a studio. Wouldn't you say, Steven?
Yeah, I personally am just terrible in the studio, but I do enjoy going in there, especially when I'm not playing. But yeah, Laura's got a really good
Compliment.
No, yeah, it's a compliment, but I mean, like, Laura's got really good instincts and really good. I you have to have like good instincts and also be confident that what you're hearing you like, right? And I think Laura does a great job when we're recording at home to find the sounds that she wants and be confident in them. So I think for the third record, let's assume we're making a third one. It'll be a little bit more of a combination of home recording and studio stuff. There's one song on this last record that has home vocals.
I was going to ask, was the last song recorded at home?
Mm-hmm.
The vocals, nice, Shane. Shane, you're listening to our Wilco cover. You're making it through the record.
Yeah,
this is very flattering.
Very flattering.
You guys don't need this flattery. You guys are that good. Don't worry about it.
Also, I've just received so many compliments. Thank you, Steven. But I have to say that Steven is the same. You know, you're good about maybe I'm fine in the moment and at home finding what I like, but like coming prepared to the studio to make sure that you get what you like is really hard. I'm not explaining this well, but like Steven can elaborate better.
Is it a thing where you have to listen to what does and doesn't work on demos and shit like that?
Well, just being in the moment of the studio with maybe someone else recording that, like a producer type role, like Danny was, you know, they have their own opinions of what you're doing. And sometimes that can like trip me up for what it is that I maybe intended to do. And then I start doing something different because I want to say yes to everything. And
that's got to be rough. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, sometimes it yields very good results, and other times it's like, oh, I feel awful that I just spent all this time on this one idea that I don't like.
It's like having a shot list. You got to come in with the shot list.
Having a shot list.
That makes sense.
That's it.
The reason I asked about the studio was because I had never been in one, and I always imagined it was pressure filled. And a shot list seems to make sense. Like, oh yeah, that would be like, it's that feeling whenever we still shot film, and they always described it as the sound of the motor film going through a motor camera was money being wasted or money being used.
Being used.
Yeah,
that's
and
great.
like, yeah, I think that's right. And everyone we've worked with has been awesome in like in dealing with my kind of like hyper anxious. Why aren't we moving on to the next thing? You know, just I'm not a good hang.
That's not.
You know, I think. No, what I mean, like,
what's your perfectionism about? Like, is it about like getting efficiency, or like, are you a sound fanatic?
No, it's about efficiency. It's about like getting what I know needs to get done.
Yeah, because Steven understands time better than anyone in the group, I'd say.
Besides maybe Christopher Nolan.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I wanted to wind down with one more like effusive compliment. You guys, like, I just was the last few days I've been listening to your two albums on repeat, and Laura, just like I was describing to a friend the other day, is like, you didn't know someone you worked with had those pipes. And the thing is, like, it's not even just that, like, it's the fact that, like, you know, I've had friends who've tried to make it in music where like a singer and like use their voice as an instrument, and it's hard to figure out how to make an individual voice out of your instrument. The way like you use these like soulful, low, breathy modes to your like high register, like the going back and forth between the two, like it's so expressive. And Steven, like generally, like I did just as a guitar player, like Like the songs are so simple, but they make so little steps beyond what they need to be doing, and like they're so soft, they're so simple, but they do enough to get an emotional reaction, and it's just I didn't know I had friends that were doing that. It's impressive.
Thank you. That's really nice.
Yeah, those are my kind of thank you, Shane. You're I don't know if you know that that's a very good compliment for us. It feels that's very that's what we want. We want songs that do that. So thank you.
Don't fuck it up on the third record. How about that?
I'm gonna turn into a screamo singer.
Yeah,
as our old friend Chris Roldan used to say, you're going to turn into the Cookie Monster singer.
That's right.
Steven Salisbury, Laura Colwell, thank you guys for being on the podcast. I hope the best for the album. It's great. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay
so
safe
fun.
Stay safe and sane up there.